God just kind of guided me each month to teach about a missing aspect of your upbringing when there is no father figure, strong male figure in the life of a young man. See, because I've done deliverance in folks' homes, and I've watched how demons respond differently to the genders. They respond totally different. And so I really believe that these 10 points could help men replace some of the things that were missing in their upbringing. Alice Bailey, Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, they all are on record saying that the family is enemy number one. So against Satanists, against New Agers, against the cultists, their greatest enemy, they say, is the family. It's a blessing. This is a blessing. And yeah, get the video, and I believe it'll be life-changing. Missing pieces.
Today's interview, I have a very special guest, none other than my father-in-law, Pastor G. Craig Lewis of EX Ministries. And we're here to talk about your latest release, Missing Pieces. You know, I saw the trailer for Missing Pieces, and it was awesome. But I think one of the things that you want to do is really delve into why Missing Pieces is necessary and needed for men. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about how this came about. What is Missing Pieces? Who is it for? Who is it designed for? How did this come about?
Well, when we started Adamant Believers Council, and we started, which is our church, and we started our men's group. We call our men Heroes, the Heroes group. We do it first Wednesdays of the month, every first Wednesday. So I guess about 13 years ago. So we started off, opened it up with a series called Did I Miss Something?
Okay.
And that series, God just kind of guided me each month to teach about a missing aspect of your upbringing when there is no father figure, strong male figure in the life of a young man, and the things that you miss. And of course, our society, just takes advantage of that. Well, it's just not even a second thought that a woman can just completely raise a young man without male leadership, mm-hmm. which is not true at all. And so I began to deal with some of the issues that were in the men that were raised without their fathers or without a strong, because sometimes you can have a father and he just not be the right role model or strong in the home. So I began to kind of, deal with people that have been raised like that or raised in those situations and begin to notice patterns and different things. So I started the Heroes series, Did I Miss Something? And it ran for the whole year.
Okay.
It was 10 months, ran the whole year. That was 13 years ago. Well, our men's ministry has grown. At that time, we may have had 15 to 20 men. It's grown to, over 100 now. And so I felt the Holy Spirit leading me to revisit that lesson. So I got that lesson and brought it up to date, and it became Missing Pieces. Mm-hmm. And I changed it to Missing Pieces, and then it took the whole year of 2024 to record it. So each month we recorded a different lesson that covered a missing piece of the upbringing when, strong male or father figure is not in the home. And so that's how we got this DVD. It was a whole year. It was a lot of work, but it was just a real blessing to the men. And now we're able to share it in this video series.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think speaking to Missing Pieces, I think sometimes there can also be, young men that grow up that have fathers in the home that there still were some things that were missing.
Of course, yeah.
And on the flip side of that, there can be a young man in the home that can grow up with his father and he missed things because he's allowed society, culture, whatever to shape his mind, shape his decisions, as opposed to going to the wise counsel, that he has before him.
Exactly.
How do we deal with some of that, because I feel like we have a lot of that in churches, right? We know we can't get past the ratios because there's more women than men in the world. Mm-hmm. But typically you see it, as a pastor, you see, women, they're quick to jump at and do stuff in the church, whereas it can be difficult sometimes to see men in leadership and doing things and following the examples of maybe their grandfathers or uncles or whoever may have been in ministry. How do we deal with some of these things?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what the series covers. So it's 10 individual lessons about each aspect that you're talking about. And it teaches you, even when you're in the home or when you have a good father, strong father in the home, and that, if he doesn't know exactly how to reach you, or you reach out to him, or you to talk. I mean, all of that's in this lesson, mm-hmm. even how to approach leadership, follow leadership. I'm going to go over the 10 aspects of the 10 missing pieces that mm-hmm. we covered in this lesson. The first one is authority, honoring those that lead us. And that's something that's missing. Then the next is working, just keeping a job, having a work ethic. Then I dealt with leadership, being responsible for those that are under our care, actually leading a home, being in a position to lead your family. Then discipline, which is discipline is really denying yourself and following the leadership of someone else, or allowing what they taught you to guide you. Mm-hmm. And then respect, treating others the way we desire to be treated. Then I did one on commitment, which is being faithful and not quitting. Then fortitude, standing strong consistently. And then I dealt with health care, caring about our bodies and taking care of our, you miss that if you don't see a man, because what ends up happening is if you're a guy and you say you don't have a strong man in your life at all, and you see a woman, then no matter what she does, you can't apply all of it to you, just because you're a different gender. And so healthcare is the one that suffers a lot of times. And then faith, our faith, watching a man walk out faith is different from watching a woman walk it out. And then the last one is priorities, knowing what's important and what does not matter. So those are things that just some of them get missed, get left out, and it causes young men to suffer in certain areas, which affects other areas. And then you could have almost a snowball effect. So I feel like all of these will help balance a young man that may have come out of a home like that. I have a church full of them where they have accepted, these teachings, and these teachings have guided them and just turned them into, or is turning them, because we're all turning into that, but it is turning them into the man that they really desire to be. Yeah,
I did want to talk about a few of these key pieces in relation to, being a man. I think one of the things that has been kind of like a buzz word especially in African American communities is, respecting authority. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a household where, my father was in the military. He taught me to be observant, but he also said, dude, you're gonna respect authority. You're gonna respect leadership. This is how you handle yourself. So how do we really get the message across to people to understand, respecting and honoring authority does not make you less of a man?
Well, that's what really makes you a man. In order to be a leader, you have to be able to be led. If you don't know how to be led, and you can't be led if you don't respect leadership. So in order for you to really understand, how to have a wife, have kids, most men want their families to respect them. Mm-hmm. You want your wife to have a respect and an honor for you. You want your kids to honor you, like the Bible says. Well, those require you to honor. If you're walking around the house and your kids and your wife hear you constantly tearing down other people, tearing down authority, tearing down leadership, then they will get the impression that it's okay to do that. And so then when it comes to you and you expect the leadership, it's going to be hard for you to show them the importance of reverence or respect if they never see you do it or never see you model it.
Yeah.
And out of these things that I named, almost all of them are example oriented. This is something that your family needs to see you do. This is something others need to see you do. Even as a minister, this is something that others need to see you do so that they'll do it for you. And that's how the Bible, that's what the Bible says. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Well, that's the only way you're going to get the respect and, that you want is if you're respecting others the same way.
Yeah. So would you say authority and respect, they kind of work in tandem?
I would. Because you won't understand authority if you're not respectful. You're basically saying that no one deserves your honor, and so you won't get it. And that's that authority that when it comes to even schools now, teachers, they can't. A lot of teachers now, I talk to a lot of them, they want to quit. They can't get the kids to listen. Well, that starts in the home.
Yeah.
That wasn't taught in the home. They didn't learn authority in the home. They were taught that they had a voice. When I grew up, I ain't had no voice in my home. Like, it wasn't until I got older that my dad would listen to me. And then it would be like, still. Because what they were trying to show me, I know your dad too, same way, that what they were showing us was that, you got to get a certain level of responsibility before you can, and that's tying another one of these into it. So you got to get a level of responsibility before you can earn the right to carry respect and authority. So it all works hand in hand. And when these pieces are missing, then you got a troubled kid that turns into a troubled teen that turns into a troubled man.
Yeah. With these missing pieces, I feel like a lot of this ties into what we're experiencing in culture just in general, right? We deal with youth on a weekly basis. We're right next to a school. As I was leaving the office earlier, school was just getting out, and I'm seeing, and I'm just watching, observing different young men, and I'm like, you can tell that there are missing pieces. Mm-hmm. How do we go back to almost kind of like the old days? And I'm not old, but
no,
but I remember how it was growing up, where you stay out of grown folks' business. You don't necessarily have an opinion. They don't really care. Mm-hmm. You can say whatever you want under your breath, but don't let them hear it. There are certain things that we just knew not to do because there was a male figure present. Mm-hmm. And so you respect it. If my dad heard me mumble something crazy to my mom, I was going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. But today we don't have that. Mm-hmm. The young men, they don't care. There is no respect or honor for authority. There is no work or discipline. They don't have these things. How do we get back to that?
Well, I did the Truth Behind Hip Hop, started that in late 90s, shot the first video at the beginning of the 2000s, and, traveled the world doing that message. Still doing the message, 14 parts of it, still going. But to see the warning that God had for the body of Christ at that time, and understanding what was getting ready to occur if we allowed the insubordinate culture of hip hop to infiltrate our communities. Mm-hmm. Because that subculture taught against every one of these. It made it cool to rap battle and disrespect others in your music and call out people that made you upset and all of that stuff. That was happening at the beginning, in the infancy of it. That's how they would disrespect each other. And so authorities, talking about against the police, talking against, whatever. You remember the NWA song and all of that. So they're coming against authority, even then planting seeds to come against authority. Then work ethic, slanging and banging and making $1 on the street and all that. That was in the music. And then, so I could go down the line. People asked me as I traveled and did that message, and I was able to speak to, countless numbers of people and share millions of DVDs and videos all over the world during that time. And at the end of the day, the main question I had was the question you just asked. What do we do? Like, what's the answer? Do we just change the music? No. The answer is it's missing pieces. We have to address what's missing. That's how hip-hop was able to come in and do what it did, because the father was missing. How can you spoil a man's goods unless you first bind the strong man? Strong man armed keepeth his palace, his goods are at peace. That's the Bible. So when that's missing, when that man that stands in the doorway of the home is missing, then you're going to have missing pieces. And so until we restore that man, then we can't restore the pieces. So that's my intention for this. This is the answer. This video is the answer to the Truth Behind Hip Hop. Like, this is what you do. We have to restore the men so they can take their proper place back in the home, so that they can not just teach these things, but exemplify. I can teach them and I can exemplify them to my kids, but it's up to the men to learn the teachings and exemplify it in their own homes. And once they stand strong in their home, the Bible said their goods are at peace. So that's how we go back to that. We got to restore the missing pieces by, restoring the man and getting the man in position.
I think about that so often, especially, being a youth pastor and dealing with the young men. It's like, man, I can't believe your dad let you do that. Like, my dad would never let that fly.
Right.
And it's like, man, why aren't the men, why are they softening their stance? Or why are they just letting things go with the flow? Or, well, his mama said he can do it. So, back then, this, I would have a question. If I could go hang out with my friends, I would go ask my mom. She would say, what your daddy say? I go ask my dad. He would say, what your mama say? Now there is none of that. It's like our systems are out of whack and things are out of balance.
Yeah, and it's intentional. The elite started all the way back with, Alice Bailey, Madame Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, Church of Satan, all those guys. They all are on record saying that the family is enemy number one. So against Satanists, against New Agers, against occultists, their greatest enemy, they say, is the family. So their goal all along, I just posted it on, I think IG a couple of weeks ago about Alice Bailey's 10-point plan. Oh no, I posted it on YouTube about the 10-point plan that she had to, change our thinking about family and church and all of that. So they targeted Protestantism. They targeted the family. They wanted those things gone because the institutional family would require a marriage by God. And it would require marriage that is honored by God. Then you would birth children to carry on the legacy of that family. So that's the enemy. How do you spoil a man's goods? Unless you first bind the strong man.
Yeah.
So they knew if the family is enemy number one, we got to go after the man. So that's why the feminists, they raised up the feminist movement, women empowerment movement. Now, every superhero is a woman now. The lead character is a woman and the villain is always the man.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that when we were growing up. We had heroes, not heroines. And so that changed because they want to raise the woman up to a position that she's not built for. And when the woman is in position, a woman can try to teach these, but because she can't exemplify them as a man, then the man is not receptive. That makes the girls in the home super successful. They're always successful. They always got the degrees. And then the boy is trash. He's just, somewhere just doing, nothing. And that's because as, strong as she may be, as talented as she may be, as, stern as she may be, she's not a man. Mm-hmm. So she can't pass certain things on to her son.
Yeah.
It takes a man.
I'm scratching my head because I'm seeing so many different examples of exactly what you're saying. We know it's the plan of the enemy. We know, all these other forces, right? Even, Hollywood with Snow White, we flipping the script and all this stuff. But the world is actually getting tired of it. Like they boycotted the movie.
Yeah.
Seeing the super strong, successful daughter and the son, I went to school with cats like they trying to rap. It's like, dude, your dad is the CEO. He's a Fortune 500 company CEO. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you got to pass it on to the girl. Yeah, that's intentional. That's 100% intentional because when the man, and so I always look at it like this: God's roles come with empowerment for that role. So the head of the house, which is the man, he has an authority that he prays with that the woman doesn't have. She don't have the same. She may have it in who she is and what she's able to do. But if she's not the head of the house, that means that the man has a power or an authority that is recognized spiritually. Mm-hmm. I know that because I've done deliverance in folks' homes and I've watched how demons respond differently to the genders. They respond totally different. Like we were in there, I was dealing with this one girl and I wrote about this in my book. We were dealing with this one girl and she had demons or whatever. Her husband was this timid little guy and he, was shy and I don't even know if he was half saved, right? But while I was dealing with her, the Holy Spirit told me to get her husband and bring him in and let him speak. Let him speak certain things. So I told him certain things. He spoke it, and he got those things handled because of his authority in that house. I used, the Holy Spirit used through me, him and his authority in the house because God respects his authority and his hierarchy. I mean, he don't change it. It is what it is. That's why Miriam and Aaron got in trouble trying to mess with Moses. Yeah. Like God, like who I choose, who I promote, who I lift up, that's his hierarchy. Mm-hmm. And so in the home, the man has that authority. So I saw that like with my own eyes. My wife is here. She was there too. I saw that. And so we have to understand that society pulling men out of the home or men just being jive and quitting and whatever, they're not considering the spiritual aspect of that and what that's doing spiritually to the home, how it's opening the home up for the enemy to have abilities and permissions that he would not have had the male authority even been present and had a piece of a prayer life. It's just the authority of the man and the woman. It's just different in the home, and God wants us to get back in our positions as men so that we can take the reins of the home and really stand strong. And it's not about belittling the woman. Any saved woman that's filled with the Spirit of God and loves the Lord would agree with this.
Yeah.
The DVD and the video sales, I told you, of this, it's women buying it and giving it to men because they want men in position. Yeah. Regardless of what society is saying, they'll let you know this is hard, man. I'm not built for this. Yeah. Where's the man? Yeah. And so I really believe that these 10 points could help men really replace some of the things that were missing in their upbringing for real.
Yeah. You said something that kind of struck a chord for me personally. What would you say to someone who was like me? I'm a very easygoing guy, very laid back, been married for 11 years now. And, a lot of times I didn't want to feel like I had to, do what I say, woman. I didn't want to do that. I wanted us to kind of, work together. But on the other end, she was like, I'm looking for you to let us know the plan, like what we do. What advice would you give to a man that is married, that may be laid back and wants to, walk in his God-given authority, but he feels like he doesn't want to be confrontational. He doesn't want to hurt her feelings, or but he has to look at these things. Like, what advice would you give to somebody like that?
I think that would be really contingent upon personalities, and just gauging personalities. But then also, a lot of things can be handled through the authority of a man in prayer. So if you're operating in that authority and that position in the home, you have the power to pray certain things over your wife, to change her, to help her work with the plan of the home, to help her see the vision that God has. A lot of that can be handled through prayer. And, in the faith part of this, I talked about that. That is, a lot of things that you start a marriage off. You may start a marriage off without any of these. And then 10 years later, you come into the knowledge of this information and you want to make a shift in the home. And, when you're in your 20s, it's like I always use the example of turning a tugboat versus turning a yacht. You turn a tugboat, anytime you get ready. Turn a yacht, you got to start turning 20 minutes before you're ready to turn. And it takes a lot to turn that big ship. Mm-hmm. And so the longer, you've gone without it, the more it's going to take. But it can be handled in prayer. Mm-hmm. And you have to strategically fast and pray. And here's what I've learned. When you begin to fast and pray and trust God for that, he'll begin to show you. Because 9.8 times out of 10, a woman is reacting to you.
Yep.
And so you have to make sure that you're getting the right reactions. And that takes being, dying to pride for one. See, that's the problem with these lessons right here. So you get a bunch of, I was going to say Negroes, but our audience is bigger than that. But you get a bunch of folks watching or hearing these kinds of lessons, and offenses set in because first they think you think you're better because you know it, and they don't. Not knowing that as I'm preparing these lessons, I got to check myself. Mm-hmm. I fell in some of these while I was preparing the lesson. You know what I mean? And so I'll be the first to say nobody has it all. This is just the information to help you have it. And but pride will set in, and men especially, women aren't as prideful. Women are more, because the woman is the nurturer, and the way God built her, she's more willing to show error, willing to say, I failed, I messed this up, I need help, versus men who, they don't know none of these, but they will act like they do, and you can't get help with pride. Yeah. And so when that pride spirit sets in, then it's hard for you to hear and hard for you to learn, and it's definitely hard for you to lead your wife or your children. Yeah. You can't lead them prideful because they don't have a reference point of where to even start to be like you. Mm-hmm. Because they don't, you're not showing them your weaknesses. You're not showing them your failures. I'm the type, I'm an open book with my family. Your dad's the same way. Your dad taught me that, actually. But you got to be able to be open and honest and let folks know, hey, I don't have all of these, and I've failed at some of these, but this is from God. We're going to get these. We're going to learn them, and we're going to do better. And when young boys see that in the home, when the wife sees that in the man, then there's hope for everybody.
Yeah.
And I believe then they're more willing to hear you and follow you, and you don't have to dominate a home for people to follow you.
Yeah.
You don't gotta always, get mad and fussing and talking crazy and everything. When you have to do that to make folks follow you, folks don't want to follow you. You gotta it's gunpoint.
Yeah.
So I think that when all those things are, especially the prayer part, when those things happen, it really helps God to, and then it helps you to see how to relate. Only God really knows what you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. We can see it and think it, but only God knows what's really going on in that situation.
That's very true.
And that prayer and that time with Him will show you that.
That's very true. I discovered in this discovery of, trying to follow these, is that when I started having honest prayers with God, He really started dealing with me honestly. Mm-hmm. As opposed to, oh, God, I need a blessing. And it's like, no, God, I'm actually struggling with X, Y, Z. Like being open and honest with God, as opposed to, those of us that grew up in church, you hear them pray and stuff, and you just trying to pray what they prayed and say words you heard, and you don't even know what it means.
Mm-hmm. And then you want to impress people, especially,
our age group. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to impress. And so that causes you to not seek help. You can have help right in front of you. You can have somebody that could really help you, but you don't want to go to them because you will think that they will think less of you in some kind of way. Yeah. And you can't, what's wrong with them thinking less of you? Has anybody ever examined that? What's wrong with somebody being let down because they thought something else? That doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. That's like a big thing in your mind. Man, he gonna think I just out here just wilding. You wilded. And you know what I'm saying? Or he gonna think I'm not where I said I was. You're not.
Right.
And that's okay. Let's get there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. And so I think that honesty and that level of openness to God, as well as, and that don't mean you got to get in the mic and I'm not gay no more. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that like that. I'm saying, but you can go in front of, you can go to your leaders and go to authorities and say, hey man, I'm having trouble respecting you as a leader because something's going on in me.
Yeah.
What's going on in me that's making me have issue with you or have offense with what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Or why does your voice sound like somebody scratching a chalkboard? Like something's going on. Well, if when you're open and honest, then you can get help.
Yeah. We live in a generation now. The ladies, there's this popular dating type show, right? And the young ladies, they'll see a young man, and if he's not, this, that, they're 6 foot, 6 figures, 6-pack, you've heard tall, dark, handsome, whatever, then it's like they're not adequate enough for the woman. And this has created severe insecurities in men that are actually great men, go to church, got a good job. But if it's not, a 6-figure job, then they feel like, because I get a lot of people that message me, I'm pretty sure you do too. Hey man, I want to get married. I don't know if I'm ready, blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you say to that young man that's maybe dealing with insecurities or, commitment and faithfulness and just, what do you say to that man?
Get off social media, dude. Quit watching Pop the Balloon. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, I was trying not to say it.
No, that's, I just taught this past Sunday about the Prince and power of the air and what that really means. It really is talking about power of frequencies. And so, the devil's omnipresence. And so in order for him to achieve what he's always worked for, which is he was tired of walking to and fro. He wanted to be in every place at the same time like God. And so, and I'm doing a whole video on that, but that's later. But in order for him to walk in omnipresence, he had to create a system of frequencies that would put him everywhere at all times. And that's our phone. He's everywhere all the time now. He knows I mean, he's almost achieving a greater God-like status as being God of this world because of his control and manipulation of EMF and frequencies. Electricity, wow. That's him. He fell from heaven like lightning. That's his. So from electricity, from the inception of electricity all the way to now with all the digital things from the EMF spectrum, the light spectrum, all those things, he's achieving that. And because he's achieving that, he has power to control our moods and our mindsets through the UV light, through EMF, through all of these things. And now, you know, he's able to put things in front of us that become guides, like they're like guiding people. So a young man that gets a hold of a show like that or a mentality like that or starts following someone who's speaking on that, he's being guided now by the enemy because the enemy's able to be at his beck and call through a digital device. And so the only way to combat that is what God left. God left the church. The church is still God's vehicle. That's God. That's to teach us how we ought to behave. A church that is under sound doctrine. You got to have them both.
Right. Yeah.
And that sound doctrine tells the older women to teach the younger women how not to pop the balloon. The older men teach the younger men how to be sober and all of the things in this list. And so when we go back to God's design, because, you know, social media and the internet, all that, that's all they do is down the church. They talk like, this is not the church age. We don't need the church. The church is in me and all that. I'm like, bruh, the church is not in you. Like, no way, especially you. But, you know, our body is a temple, but the church is the collective coming together. And the thing about that verse in Hebrews that says that about forsake not the assembling of yourselves one another, it gives you at the end of that, even the much more as you see the day approaching. Meaning it's more important now than it's ever been.
Yes.
And so that is where we learn the things that go against the devil's social media plots and his, you know, omnipresence through digital devices, all of that. In order to combat that, we have to have a strong foundational church that is still able to teach these things from leadership and authorities in the church. But if the generation doesn't respect it, then you're going to go out there and get the balloon popped on you, bruh. You know, if you don't respect God's order and what God left for us, then you're gonna be out there struggling.
Yeah.
You know, God made it easier because when you form the community comes together, and then you got a line of girls at the church that don't have no balloons. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just, it makes it different. But now everybody is, you know, just scattered, and they're out because they're following devices. They're following the devil's devices.
Yeah.
And we got to change that.
Yeah. A lot of times, Vicky and I will watch it, and I'll be like, if you a Christian and you all of this, why are you even on this show? Like, what are you looking for that is on this show that you would think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna find me a woman of God on Pop the, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
I don't even believe they're looking for a woman on that show. I think they're looking for attention,
notoriety,
in getting the woman on the show.
Fame.
And that's who was the one that desired the fame of God, who wanted to be lifted up?
The devil.
The devil.
Yep.
And that's the way he's working now. Yeah. He's in the devices, man. He's in these shows and everything. And there are good uses for the device. I'm not saying throw your laptop and burn your phone. They're good uses, but the devil is dominating it. His content is dominating it. And the day is fast approaching where God's content won't be on it anymore. And people will have to make a real choice then. Where am I going to go? I tell you, you're going to go to church.
But the airwaves and the stuff that they're putting out, they only share the effeminate ones. They only share the things that go viral because they want it to go viral. They don't share the true men of God that are leading, good local bodies and communities and changing they're not showing that. So then in return, it's creating a bad taste in other men's mouths. Then you got these other para religions, the Hebrew Israelites and the, mysticism and all this other stuff. And then on the flip side, from the men going to the Hebrew Israelite way, you got the women that are just dousing themselves in witchcraft and sorcery. And so now you got these people that say, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And they're wearing all this stuff. It's like, you're missing pieces.
Yeah.
You're literally missing pieces.
Yeah, and the Hebrew Israelites, all of them, they just lack these things. I mean, you go down this list, and you can see that they needed a vehicle to come and give them the discipline they need. It's the same as what the Nation of Islam was in the 70s and 80s. It's a group of men that seem to have certain disciplines. And because we were created to desire those things, even gangs and all of that.
I was gonna mention that. Yep.
The structure, the discipline, following a leader. It's so funny how nobody want to follow the pastor. And, he just a man. He just a man. But then go get in a gang and let a dude just pistol whoop him. Yeah, okay, I'll do it. The leader of the gang, Lockjaw. That's who's leading you. That's his name. Lockjaw. I do anything. I die for Lockjaw. You won't even listen to the pastor at the church, but you would take a bullet for somebody named Lockjaw. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but they need a leader. They need leadership. And the funny thing is, when they leave the church, they go get under an anti-leader that's an anti-church. You're still under somebody. It's just crazy. We were created for that. We need authority. We need somebody to show us how to work, leadership, discipline, respect, commitment. We need that. We were created for that. And I believe that this video series is groundbreaking when it comes to that, because it breaks them all up individually and gives you an opportunity to kind of hear a real word and a real world scenario of each one of them that you could apply.
Yeah. I love it. I watched the episodes, and I feel like one of the things that we need more than ever today is the simplicity of the gospel and how we can practically apply it to our lives. A lot of times people make stuff, spooky, and you got to float in other dimensions. And he was speaking in fake tongues on the video, so then Xander started doing it too. But he was like, no, you don't have to do that, because like the example you used with Moses and Jethro, like Moses still went to Jethro because of the respect for authority and leadership that he had for him, even though he was heard from God.
Bush just heard. God told him to go.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. If that had been one of us, man, we'd have been like, look here, Jethro. Your time's up. I been with God.
I'm the set man.
Matter of fact, Jethro, take your shoes off, because the ground you were standing on. I mean, but that respect level he had for his authority is why God called him.
Yeah.
And God even told Miriam and Aaron when they were wild, and he said, there is not a man more meek than Moses. I picked him because of his meekness. What is meekness? Well, that's not weakness. That's power under control.
Yeah.
Meaning he had the power. Moses could just part of Red Sea.
Yeah.
But it was under God's control. He let God control the power that resided in him.
So would you say in summary, what is, obviously behind the obvious, what is one key thing that men should take away from watching Missing Pieces?
All the pieces. I think they are important, and I believe 100% they're accurate. These are the things. If you got these 10 things and you are working on these 10 things, you're going to feel better about who you're becoming. One thing God does, I believe, with all men is he shows you who you should be. And so men see that guy, and they either work toward being that guy or they hurt because they feel they can't ever be that guy.
Wow.
But you saw him. You know who he is. You know who he is. And I believe these 10 things will help every man become that guy.
Powerful stuff, y'all. Listen, not only is he a pastor, but he's also my father-in-law, and I take advantage of all the benefits that God. Listen, you don't have a powerful man of God come in your life like that. You don't take advantage. He's not lying. A lot of this that he's been talking about, I've been calling him, and I've been open, and I've let my pride die, and I've forgot about what, the enemy, the thoughts, and he gonna think. Well, like he said, I did the dumb way, but now I'm trying to do it God's way with the help of him, of course, my father, and just respecting the authority and all the things that are on here. I believe your life will be truly transformed and changed. Go get the video, man. You don't want no woman just buying you the videos in here, because that, that just feels wrong. Yeah. So go to the website, exministries.com. Download the video, purchase the video, get the physical copy if you need to, buy extras, and give it to folks that that's jive. And just be a blessing in this day and age.
Yeah.
Pops,
yeah.
Appreciate, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the video,
sir.
But appreciate you for allowing me to interview you. I feel like I just grew 30 feet in the spirit. And, I got a few extra pieces.
Yeah. It's a blessing. This is a blessing. Yeah, get the video, and I believe it'll be life changing.
Missing pieces.